The last point, Judge, I'm not scared of this. I'm the one who spoke about VBS. I'm not scared about this VBS story. There's no Matodzi affidavit. That is a sponsored propaganda that is aimed at intimidating and defocusing the EFF. I will never be defocused by VBS. I will never be intimidated by VBS. I can tell you seated here, and I'm repeating myself, and I'm so disappointed that some KLCA doesn't defend me. I sat down with him. I gave him, it was a panel of them. I said, ask me any question you want to ask me. They asked me the same things that you are trying to create an impression that they are new. Those questions were raised at that time, and facts were never found. No leader of the EFF received a VBS money. No EFF received a VBS money. Matodzi never alleges in his affidavit that the money was given to the EFF or the leadership of the EFF. In Matodzi's affidavit, which is unbelievable and we dispute, is that the money was given to Sgamega. As Sgamega money, which we never disputed, that Sgamega confirmed it received the money, to an extent that Sgamega was called by the curators of VBS, and Sgamega reached an agreement with the curators of VBS to pay back the loan they took from VBS. That loan has since been paid. So there is no one, even in Sgamega, who has eaten the money of Gogos. They've paid back that money back to the VBS. Try something else. You want to talk about the cut? In the meeting where Samkel and them were interrogating me and thinking they've got facts like you are doing, unless you just arrived from Ukraine, you will not know what are the issues that transpired before. They even made me to take out my wallet in search of the cut you are talking about. They couldn't find it on me. What makes you want to raise the same issue that you probed me, not through questions, literal search, and the cut you are talking about, you could not find in my position? Try something else. VBS will not work. We're not here for the first time. We've been tested before with unfounded allegations which their aim was to achieve a political end. The abuse of state and the state resources has never intimidated us. There is no one who can raise VBS and silence me. The only thing that is going to silence me from raising matters in this country is death. Outside death, nothing will stop me, nothing will intimidate me. I'm not scared of Ramaphosa and all of his cahoots. Let them bring it on. We are ready to fight them. And if they want to arrest, we told them then, this thing you are raising in the Matodzi evidence was even there before people got arrested for VBS. Why didn't they arrest us then? You cannot put any man of the VBS in our pockets or in the pockets of the VBS. That's what Advocate Dalimpofu was saying. He never said the EFF received money. He was saying, let's assume that affidavit of Matodzi is true. Even with the version of Matodzi, there's nowhere where he says he gave the EFF money, but there's nowhere where Matodzi says EFF solicited a bribe or asked for a donation. He says he offered, if we're to believe that particular affidavit. And he doesn't say he has donated money to the EFF account or to the leadership of the EFF. He now speaks about taking the money into Sgamega, which he's got contract with, and it is on the basis of that contract that the curators accepted the settlement of Sgamega. So the matter is closed. But because you have nothing against the EFF and you want to intimidate it going into this 7th parliament, you go to the dustbin, thresh literal journalism, you start searching for things that are non-existent in an attempt to silence us. Our keeping quiet on this matter is not because we don't have answers, but we are just tired of answering nonsense. Every time we give you facts, you work against the facts because you want to achieve a particular end. The leader of NCC is right. Steinhoff is there. With so many billions disappeared, DA never get questioned. Musima Imani received a car from Steinhoff, that matter is still not spoken about. Simelane received a house from Steinhoff, that matter is not spoken about. The white corruption in this country is not spoken about. You are trying to use us in relation to VBS to give corruption a black face, which we refuse. You are protecting white corruption in this country at the expense of the progressive people of South Africa to silence them. Even in the Matodzi issue, there is Communist Party that is alleged to have requested, EFF they say in their own paper, never requested. The Communist Party requested the money. The ANC requested the money and gave, Zweli Mkhize gave an account of a different company. There they implicate them directly and say they requested and even told us where to pay. The EFF did not request. If anything, we offered to donate to the EFF. But those that are recipient of such donation, which we dispute, are now being attacked as if they are the one who went to solicit a bribe. The ANC in Limpopo, the biggest beneficiary of VBS because they send their municipalities to go and put money in VBS in exchange for gratuity. So that is not spoken about. Again, Polokwane municipality put money in VBS. None of you has asked the question who was the mayor when Polokwane was putting money in VBS. The mayor was Minister of Justice at that time. Thank you.
On Monday, we published the results of a joint investigation between News24 and Daily Maverick, revealing that Justice Minister Thembi Simelane took a 575,000 rand loan from the company of a man now part of the VBS corruption trial. Gundo Wealth Solutions loaned Simelane 575,000 rand to buy a coffee shop in Sandton. She claims that the loan was paid back, but when we asked her to present proof of those payments or a loan agreement, she refused to provide them. This story is important because, as Justice Minister, Simelane has direct oversight over the National Prosecuting Authority, the same National Prosecuting Authority that is pursuing charges against more than a dozen people and companies in the 2 billion rand VBS corruption trial. At the time Simelane took the loan, she was the mayor of Polokwane municipality. Gundo Wealth Solutions, owned by Raliom Razwenane, had a 3-year contract with Polokwane for investment brokerage services. The only investments Gundo brokered were with VBS, and the municipality put in a total of 349 million rand.
Pressure continues to mount on Justice Minister Thembi Simelane to break her silence on the alleged R500,000 rand loan that she received from the now defunct VBS Mutual Bank. Action SA joining a growing number of voices for the minister to be held accountable. The party has filed an urgent public protector complaint against the minister, and to add to her woes, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has also asked Simelane to provide a detailed report on the matter. Let's get more now on this, and we'll speak to Action SA's Parliamentary Caucus leader, Ethel Trollip, who joins us from Port Alfred this evening. Mr. Trollip, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with a question around conflict of interest. Do you believe that Simelane does indeed have a genuine conflict of interest, given that she is the minister that oversees the work of the NPA, and that very prosecuting authority, one of the cases it's dealing with is VBS? Do you believe that there's a genuine conflict of interest here?
Good evening, Tolly. Thanks very much for having me on your show. First of all, I think we were the first party last week on Monday morning, after having seen an article written in the Daily Maverick by the same person who's been joining the dots between VBS and the EFF, swindling people's life savings at VBS. I want to shatter the illusion that this is just an EFF heist. It's not. There are many people in the ANC that are deeply involved. And the current Minister of Justice was the mayor of Polokwane municipality. And that municipality invested 350 million rand into VBS through a middleman or a broker. And as soon as the commission started flowing for that investment, the broker then made a loan, in inverted commas, to the mayor of around 575,000 rand. The loan was apparently used to buy a coffee shop or a bistro in Sandton. Now, as soon as we read that, the red flags went up, because first of all, the initial investment of 350 million was illegal. Secondly, as soon as the commission started being paid, which would be considerable on that amount of money, a loan was made to the mayor at the time. Now, you asked the question, is there a conflict of interest? Yes, there was a conflict of interest back then when she was the mayor. She should never have been taking a loan from a third-party brokerage that was investing the money illegally into VBS. And now, very much so, she is conflicted and has a vested interest as the Minister of Justice. So I immediately wrote on Monday to the Public Protector to ask for an independent and urgent investigation. At the same time, I wrote to the President to inform the President what was happening so that he couldn't say he didn't know anything about it. And subsequently, I've also written to the Speaker, because what I want to ascertain from the Speaker, because I can't find it in the public register of this Minister's declaration, I want the Speaker to give me the details of the Minister's declaration. Did she declare the loan? Did she declare the bistro? Because these are all the ways to prosecute a matter. And we need a public protector that's beyond reproach. That's the simple bottom line. We can't have we can't have a Minister of Justice who is implicated in corruption and impropriety. And secondly, we can't have somebody who is compromised and has a vested interest in her own matter who heads up the NPA. So we want this cleared up as soon as possible.
So, how dangerous a slippery slope is this, where you have a minister who oversees the work of this institution, and she herself now might be involved, or could be, as I said earlier, mired in the very same VBS matter or case that the NPA has been prosecuting? Some people, by the way, are sitting in jail as we speak.
Yeah, I'm afraid, Polly, that we are way down the slippery slope in South Africa. Last week in Parliament, there was a question posed to the Minister about the fact that only one person has been successfully prosecuted so far related to VBS, I beg your pardon, to the Zondo Commission. And that's a Mr. Ayres in the United States, who was found guilty of corruption and corrupting employees of SAA. And the question to the minister was, and she did not answer the question, she asked her deputy minister to answer the question. The question is, why have we been able to have a prosecution in a foreign country of somebody who has been involved in corruption in South Africa, yet we haven't been able to convict anyone of corruption from the Zondo Commission? And that's a very good question. And my question was a follow-up question, and I asked that, is it possible or suitable to have a Minister of Justice presiding over the NPA and the affairs of the Justice Department whilst she has this cloud hanging over her head? So there are two options as far as I'm concerned. One, that she should resign. That's the noble option. And the second one, that she should be placed on suspension pending the outcome of the investigation and until it is finally concluded. But that doesn't seem to be the course that's followed by the ANC and now still even under the new GNU. It's the prevarication that we have seen all too often with President Cyril Ramaphosa. This doesn't require prevarication. This requires decisive leadership, and the minister needs to have her name cleared expeditiously, and if not, she needs to be suspended or she needs to resign. So that's what we're calling for. And if she's innocent, while during suspension or even in resignation she can prove her innocence, that's fine. But we need some examples in South Africa. We need our elected leaders, and especially cabinet ministers that are appointed by the president, to be beyond reproach and to be exemplary. And what we've seen here is typical obfuscation. The minister says that she's prepared to cooperate with everybody, but when she's contacted by the media to provide the terms and conditions of the loan and how the repayments were made, nothing. So I can't even find her declarations where this is should be declared. So I'm now pursuing another avenue to find out whether the minister indeed did declare these matters before the investigation brought these allegations out. So it's tough times, I think, for the minister, tough times for the GNU, and we expect President Ramaphosa to act with decisive leadership, and we haven't seen that yet. Yes, I agree that he called her last week to explain, but we need more than explanations. We need proven innocence.
Ethel Trollip, thank you very much for your
Polokwane
time.
municipality invested 50 and then 80 million rand, very large investments into VBS Mutual Bank. And that is right there where the money trail starts to be unlawful. The Matau and Worksman's investigation found that those investments were in contravention of the Municipal Finance Management Act. Now, from there, VBS then paid kickbacks, unlawful bribes or kickbacks, into Razman's account Gundo Wealth. And those 35% of those kickbacks have been used to pay for Thembi Simelane's coffee shop. Now, on her version, the minister says the loan was above board, there was nothing wrong with the loan, and that she repaid it. When we asked her, okay, please give us the loan documents and show us the repayment schedule, she did not answer any of those very specific questions.
Yeah. Is the minister denying that that particular commercial loan is from the proceeds of VBS?
Well, she didn't deny it in so many words, and I think that's one of the problems that we have with the minister's version, because she speaks in generalities. She declines to speak in specific dates, specific facts. We posed very specific questions to her, and the more specific we got, the more she tended to generalize what happened. So on her version, she says that she stands with the National Prosecuting Authority, that she stands for justice, that there was nothing wrong, and her word above board is descriptive of what she terms this commercial loan. She did admit that the coffee shop was bought with money from Gundo Wealth Solutions, but that money was a commercial loan. And this is the kicker, I think, that when we pointed out to her that Gundo was not a registered credit provider, she went silent on that point yet again. And in terms of South Africa's National Credit Act, no company can allow or is allowed to give a legitimate, lawful loan to any other entity when they're not a registered credit provider. So Gundo Wealth, in the end, had no legitimate expectation that that loan would be repaid. That's the first point. And the second would be, on her own version, there's a huge conflict of interest, because Gundo Wealth was appointed by the Polokwane municipality as that municipality's service provider or financial advisor. And then the mayor, Thembi Simelane, now the minister, at the time appointed Gundo as her own service provider as well. And when we again pointed out that there seems to be a huge conflict of interest, the minister simply did not react to that specific point, other than to say that she sees no conflict of interest overall.
So in your report, you're saying the minister, then mayor, manages to stay clear of the investigations as far as the transfers of the money from the municipality. So who are the people responsible there? Who are those who are impacted by that particular transfer?
I think she tries to stay clear. I don't think she manages to stay clear. And it's journalists like you and I and the public who really need to ask very pointed questions and force answers in the end. And I do hope that the public protector would do so too, because there are very clear indications here that the minister shies away from telling us whether she did repay the loan. And if she did not repay the loan, and if that loan was not legitimate in terms of a loan agreement, and that this company wasn't a credit provider, then we should ask further, why is it that it seems that this loan was 35% of the kickbacks flowing from VBS Mutual Bank, and that followed the entire pattern of how municipalities were bribed to invest in VBS Mutual Bank in the end.
Is it a general defense from all those who are part of this transaction or this pattern that you're talking of, huge investment, kickback and disbursement, to say, well, I just received a loan?
Yeah, so you see that quite across the board, where loans are characterized as legitimate moneyed loans. And then there's usually, and we can name a number of examples. Floyd Shivambu and Brian Shivambu is one of those people. Philip Triter, who was jailed and is now out on bail, the same thing. The same thing with Matsotsi. There were a number of loans given, in inverted commas, which were not really loans. And that was a character of the VBS fraud, is where loans were provided to certain people. And Matsotsi actually tells us in his affidavit, Matsotsi was the chair of VBS. He says loans were used to haul in or reel in people and to bind them to VBS, almost to buy their loyalty for future reference. And it was a method used where that loans were never repaid, and legally it's very clear that the loans were actually not loans, it were bribes. But it's just this veneer of credibility when you term it a loan.
So let's talk about Gundo Wealth Solutions a little bit more. I mean, do they have any other business except to, I suppose, this business of getting municipalities at that time to invest in VBS?
It seems as if Gundo first started out as a financial advisor to a number of municipalities, and it sold products to municipalities at the time. And then it seems as if VBS realize that there's money to be made here. And this is now generally speaking in terms of the Motown and Worksman's report, where commission agents were used, like Raliom Razwanani or Kabelo Matsetes, another ANC-linked commissions agent, where they would solicit, and those solicitations were always accompanied by bribes, the Motown report said. A number of municipal officials to invest large sums of money in VBS Mutual Bank.
Yeah. So you're saying now that the Matau report has characterized those facilitation fees or 2% capital investment commission that would have been given as not in compliance with the Municipal Financial Management Act. So they are not supposed to be paid.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see this in the prosecuting authorities' indictment as well. It's a very helpful indictment when you read it in terms of the current situation. So Razwanani is now standing trial on 13 counts of corruption. And 2 of those counts relate directly to the payments that you and I are discussing. It's the 2 payments that are derived, the kickbacks derived from the 50 and the 80 million rand bribe or investment into VBS. The bribes or kickbacks being paid right back to Razwanani, and then the money sent to the coffee shop.
As far as Ricovets is concerned, the owners of the coffee shop, they, of course, are not aware of this particular dealing, that this money or where this money would have been coming from.
It seems that they did not know about the back end of it.
Yeah. 349 million is said to have been invested overall by the Polokwane municipality. Is there any other part of that portion of the money that would have been attached to some kickback and reinvestment pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. When we speak about the patterns, it's very clearly stated not only by our own investigations, but by the prosecuting authorities' indictment, where, and this is such a good question because every time there's a large investment from Polokwane municipality, a kickback to Razwanani, and then a disbursement to whoever is the municipal official. In 2 occasions, it seems like it was Thembi Simelane. In other occasions, it seems money flowed to other municipal officials as well.
Yeah. I suppose a very important question that's being asked by the Democratic Alliance right now is, at this point, yes, she is now the Minister of Justice. Is there any indication of interference in the VBS investigations?
We don't have direct evidence of specific interference in the VBS investigation at the moment. It has been slow going. We don't think that that's necessarily provable, so it's a very difficult question to answer. What is, however, concerning is that we've heard from News 24, from Jeff Wicks, had published a story a few weeks ago about the database linked to the Zondo Commission's investigations that the Ministry of Justice is sitting on, and now the National Prosecuting Authority and the ID, the unit run by Andrea Johnson, every time needs to apply for a document or a piece of evidence if they want to access the database. And I can't believe that we're sitting with this nonsense, because we, the taxpayer, the country, has paid so much, billions, for the Zondo investigation. And that database is supposed to be handed over to the National Prosecuting Authority. And now Minister Thembi Simelane's department is being the gatekeeper between what the prosecuting authority is allowed and not allowed to have. And I don't think that is justice at all.
Yeah.
Justice Minister Thembi Simelane, as well as an NEC member, has been brought up in VBS. Are you, as the ANC, investigating the minister, as given that she's also an NEC member?
We will get the report, and then Thembi will have to go to the Integrity Commission. We're expecting a full report from her in terms of what has been reported. And then...
have you asked her for a full report?
We don't have to ask her. It's upon her to know that she must report.
Okay.
She must report to the SG. I don't have to be reminded when I'm implicated in something that I must report. And then she will also go, I think, to the Integrity Commission to explain a part of the story. The President is dealing with the matter at the level of government, as you have known, as you have seen. She have asked a formal brief from the Minister. But from the side of the ANC, when the need arises that we need to take action, we will take action. And so there are no holy cows. That must be guaranteed. So the renewal agenda is rolling. We've got measures in place of how we deal with those particular issues.